To no one's surprise that we're going to be talking about another dead Web3 game. It was founded by Dr. Disrespect. It was called Midnight Society. It had a bunch of ex-Call of Duty people in it, and really wasn't good. So Midnight Society has had a very troubled past. On top of having a very controversial streamer being attached to it, they kicked him out of his own studio that he founded. Has announced that it would be closing its doors and canceling its FPS game Dead Drop. Other than Off the Grid, I have not seen another Web3 game actually succeed. The studio announced its closure in a post on X, Twitter. We're going to call it Twitter. Today, we're announcing Midnight Society will be closing its doors after 3 incredible years with an amazing team of over 55 developers. It's actually not terribly big. The studio added a call asking if any studio is hiring and could offer employment opportunities to its team members, which is nice. Like we talked about in the other video, there's just not a lot of positions open right now. Midnight Society was also founded by Dr. Disrespect, as well as veterans of games like Call of Duty and Halo. Robert Bowling and Quinn Del Hill. The studio's first game, Dead Drop, was meant to be a free-to-play FPS that would build on the team's expertise. Dead Drop was targeting a 2024 release, but missed their target. Frankly, from what I saw on that game, it just looked very lacking. It felt like they were resting on the laurels of their past accomplishments and they weren't really pushing anything. It felt very alpha and never ever past that point. You have 3 years of development and you have barely anything to show for it. And I think it's probably because they were just focusing so much on the Web3 components and trying to figure out and just selling NFTs for access that they couldn't figure out how to incorporate that whole other ecosystem properly. But Midnight Society parted ways with Brendan in 2024 after the streamer announced exchanging messages with a minor through Twitch Whispers, a feature that sometimes leans too much in the direction of being inappropriate. Despite the split, Midnight Society continued development on Dead Drop until this year when it was shut down. I feel like once they split, to be honest, they probably lost a lot of funding. They were kind of doomed both ways. There was not a way that they could survive splitting, and there wasn't enough money to keep the studio alive. But yet they were no matter what. The game was set in a fictional universe where the 80s never ended, according to the studio. Images shared by Midnight Society show characters wearing Daft Punk-like helmets and wielding guns and swords. The gameplay was set to be in a PvPvE style extraction shooter. I think that extraction shooters are so not misrepresented, but underrepresented. There is definitely room for another one to pop in, but really it's been a graveyard of extraction shooters. Blizzard was working on an extraction shooter. There's been so many indie companies that have made extraction shooters. None of them have stuck other than Tarkov. This one could have been, but we'll never know. Midnight Society joins a list of studios that have experienced closures or layoffs in this difficult time in the game industry that has impacted companies like Ubisoft, BioWare is literally a shell, Phoenix Labs, and many, many more. Was that the whole article? That was the whole article? When you look at this, trying to get mechanics down, movement down, shooting down, like those are the most important things in the building blocks of how to make a good game. But I mean, yeah, even the characters are just like really rough. But like for 3 years, this is not a lot to show. I've seen solo devs do more than this in less amount of time. So you got to ask yourself, like, what were they doing? Why was there so much time wasted here? But the Omni movement, I don't know. Like, because like, you know what this feels like? It feels like old Unreal Tournament. There was already blueprints for this. So again, why did this take so long? You're boasting that you have people from Bungie and Call of Duty. I'm not seeing it. It's very much like in name only. It's fluff. That is crazy. By the way, okay, that muzzle flash is so big. User understanding of what is happening in a high, fast-paced game. So how do you have a team of 55 people and you're still producing stuff like this? Actually blows my mind. And this really comes back down to like production waste. And we don't know the inner workings of that company. We don't know why they are at the stage that they are at in 3 years. We don't know. We don't understand why. For me as an outsider with my experience looking in, it feels like there was a lot of pivoting. There wasn't a clear idea of what the hell they were doing. And a lot of time spent on marketing trying to sell NFTs rather than actually trying to figure out what the hell the game was supposed to do. Like any momentum that people would want to have for this game when it's marketed as Web3 and they're selling NFTs, it kind of killed it. I think to round out the conversation here, I really do feel like the Web3 aspect and just pandering to that audience really early on, frankly, hurt this game in terms of growth. The lack of showing when it comes to this beta is a whole separate matter of just massive production and resource waste. We'll never know about this game. I mean, I think that this is the great warning for companies trying to incorporate Web3, but again, there's not really an audience for it. So they're trying to build a product for an audience that doesn't exist. And sometimes that works, but most of the time, it's just a failure.